Right now at 6, Portland announces a second mass-sanctioned homeless camp, and neighbors say they were caught off guard.
We don't know anything about it.
There should be community discussions.
Plus,
he had no intention to harm himself or anybody on the airplane.
The off-duty pilot accused of trying to down an Alaska Airlines flight heads to court. What his lawyer and wife are saying in his defense.
And parents scramble ahead of a potential strike.
We won't have an option, right, if PPS closes, and so we've got to figure it out.
Meet the families joining forces to come up with solutions. Good evening, everyone. Let's get right to breaking news in North Portland, where a deadly crash on I-5 has shut down all southbound lanes. This is near the Alberta Street exit. You can see the backup here from the ODOT camera at Lombard Street. It extends, it looks like, all the way back onto the interstate bridge.
Traffic is being diverted to Going Street and back onto southbound I-5 at Greeley Street. We don't have any more details about the crash or when the lanes could reopen. Police are telling people to avoid the area if you can.
We'll keep you posted. Let's get to more breaking news. We are closely following developments in Maine and the search for a mass shooting suspect. Things on the ground really changing minute by minute here. This is a live look at a neighborhood with a home we understand belongs to relatives of the suspect, 40-year-old Army reservist Robert Card. It's pretty dark out there out east now. Police have had it surrounded for more than an hour, though it remains unclear if the suspect is inside. We watched a few moments ago as law enforcement vehicles left that scene. No word on what or who, if anybody, they found. This is all happening in Bowdoin. That's about 20 miles from Lewiston, Maine's second largest city, where authorities say the gunman killed 18 people and injured 13 more in 2 shootings last night at a bowling alley and a bar.
This all began unfolding a little more than 24 hours ago. The first shooting at that bowling alley on Lewiston's north side. Then minutes later at a bar and grill about 4 miles away on the south side of town. A few hours later, Robert Card's car was found abandoned at a boat ramp in a neighboring town. Businesses and schools in the area were closed for the day as people were ordered to shelter in place. Stay with KGW and NBC News as new details come in. Updates are available anytime at kgw.com and on the KGW app.
Well, back in the Northwest, the city of Portland has announced the location of its second mass-sanctioned homeless camp.
It'll house up to 200 people, and it's all part of the mayor's effort to rapidly increase shelter services. Let's get to Blair Best, who joins us from North Portland Drive. Blair, what more can you tell us about this possible camp?
So the site is right behind this fence here, and the lot itself is pretty run down. There's piles of debris and an abandoned building on one end. It's surrounded by industrial businesses and pretty far from any inner city services. So it's not clear exactly why this was the location chosen, but pretty soon about 200 homeless people will be living here. So we spent the day talking with neighbors to see what they think about all this, and here's what we found.
It can be easy to overlook the industrial lots lining North Portland Road, but not for Luis Hernandez.
This is a power steering box.
It's where Luis spends most days, working in his truck repair shop.
And we like to be here because we got everything close to the Columbia Boulevard.
Soon he'll have new neighbors. The city has picked this abandoned lot next door for its second temporary alternative shelter site. That's a mass-sanctioned campsite for up to 200 homeless people. Luis had no idea.
We don't know anything about it.
Well, I just read about it this morning.
This man didn't want to be identified on camera, but lives about a mile away.
There should be community discussions. My guess is they weren't real forthcoming about.
The mayor's office says they've met with local stakeholders near the site and they're working on a good neighbor agreement. However, the local neighborhood association says they're not going to work with the city on that agreement since they don't believe it will influence the city's plans.
Well, I consider myself a neighbor, and no one come to me and let us know.
Portland's Bureau of Environmental Services owns the lot, which is far from inner city services and looks as if it's seen better days. Luis fears once homeless people move in, his business will be a target.
Sometimes the gate they don't work good, so obviously not very comfortable about this because we have a lot of stuff in here, a lot of equipment. It's not a problem being there, but what about our stuff? What about ourselves, our safety?
Now, we're told the site off North Portland Road will primarily be for people living in RVs and campers, like those living here off Northeast 33rd Drive, which is about 7 miles away from the site.
It's a great idea. I mean, people don't lose their, possessions of their vehicles.
Mark has lived along this stretch for 2 years. So if you had the option to move your RV into this site, would you?
Yeah, I would for more stabilization, yes.
The site will also have pods and tents. The California-based group Urban Alchemy will run it and connect people with permanent housing along with other services.
If they don't manage it well enough, there's going to be problems.
Blair, what's the time frame? How soon does the city plan to open this site?
So the city tells us they plan to have it up and running in the coming months. And I also want to point out here that the city's daytime ban on camping, the enforcement of that ban is contingent upon them opening more shelter sites like this so that homeless people have another place to go. And they're doing that. In just the past 4 months, they've opened 4 more shelter sites, including these mass camps and those smaller safe rest villages, adding 400 more shelter beds here in Portland. David, Laurel.
Thank you, Blair Best, live for us in North Portland.
In tonight's other headlines now, the Portland man accused of plotting to shoot up a rock climbing festival in Central Oregon is due in court tomorrow in Bend. Prosecutors say 39-year-old Samson Garner was planning an attack at the Smith Rock Cragun Classic. Police say they were tipped off by a friend of the suspect who shared a concerning email. In it, Garner allegedly said he was thinking about shooting climbers and spectators. Police arrested Garner last Thursday. They say they found multiple handguns and a semi-automatic rifle in his car. Garner is facing 27 felony charges, including attempted murder.
In Seaside, 10 people are without a home tonight after a 2-alarm fire destroyed one house and damaged 2 others early this morning. It started about 5:30 in a 2-story house on Avenue I. Everyone was able to get out safely, but as you can see here, the damage to one of the homes was extensive. No word yet what might have caused that fire. Officials say those displaced have found a place to stay.
The TSA is now acknowledging that screeners at PDX failed to notice a pistol in a carry-on bag that led to a Washington state senator's arrest in Hong Kong. Jeff Wilson, a Republican who represents Longview, flew from Portland to San Francisco last week and then boarded a flight to Hong Kong to begin a vacation with his wife. Wilson said he was mid-flight when he realized the pistol was in his briefcase. He notified authorities when he landed. They arrested him for possessing an unregistered firearm. Wilson is due in court in Hong Kong for a hearing on Monday. TSA say it's now investigating how screeners missed that gun. Officers at PDX have caught 43 firearms so far this year. Matt?
Thanks so much, David. Hey, the sky is going to clear off tonight, and there's a pretty good sunset happening right now out of the Oregon coast. This is Cannon Beach. Still some clouds hanging around. 50 degrees, though. It's cool. It's cool all around the region. Portland's at 48, Vancouver's at 47, and over in Hillsborough, already down to 45. Temperatures will be in the 30s throughout western Oregon. We even had freezing temperatures in Tillamook this morning. And so with all that going on, especially with the clearing sky that we've got happening tonight, we're under a frost advisory, including the Portland area, all of the Willamette Valley, Southwest Washington, and the Gorge. That's for tonight. For tomorrow night, it steps up a little bit. We go from a frost advisory to a freeze watch, which means we're going to see a hard freeze on Saturday morning. So it's all about the cold temperatures right now as the sky will be clearing overnight tonight. That'll lead to some brilliantly sunny afternoons, though. 37 in the morning. We only top out at 54 tomorrow. That's below average by about 6 degrees. And sunset tomorrow at 6:05 as the days continue to get shorter. So the headlines, frosty mornings right through the weekend, but clear days. And right now, it looks like Halloween will be dry. We'll investigate that a little further in a bit, guys.
Some good news. Thank you, Matt. Well, it's the first time we are hearing from the family of an off-duty pilot charged with trying to bring down an Alaska Airlines flight. Joseph Emerson appeared in federal court in Portland to face an additional charge.
Kyle Eboshi was in the courtroom this afternoon. Kyle?
Emerson's tearful wife sat directly behind him in court. And after the hearing, she spoke briefly off camera, explaining this is not my Joe or the Joe anyone knows. No one, she said, can understand what happened. According to his lawyer, he was not suicidal. The family of 44-year-old Joseph Emerson, seen here being hauled away by police in handcuffs, said they have no explanation for why he allegedly tried to bring down an aircraft. Emerson's defense attorney spoke with reporters after a brief hearing Thursday in federal court.
And he would like to reiterate that he had no intention to harm himself or anybody on the airplane when he acted.
Federal prosecutors charged Emerson with one count of interfering with a flight crew. That comes on top of state charges where Emerson is facing more than 80 counts of attempted murder. He pleaded not guilty in a Multnomah County courtroom on Tuesday. According to court documents, the off-duty pilot was riding in a cockpit jump seat on a flight from Everett, Washington to San Francisco Sunday when he told the pilots, "I'm not okay." Prosecutors say Emerson tried to shut off the plane's engines by pulling the red fire handles. The pilot struggled with Emerson before he left the cockpit. According to the FBI, Emerson told a flight attendant, "I need you to cuff me before I do something wrong. It's going to be bad." After being seated and placed in handcuffs, the FBI said he tried to open an emergency exit door, but a flight attendant stopped him. The plane landed safely at PDX.
Given the potential consequences of what could have happened, very thankful for the actions taken by the entire crew.
While in custody, Emerson claimed he was having a nervous breakdown and hadn't slept in 40 hours. Court documents say he told police he'd been depressed for 6 years, recently lost a friend, and had taken psychedelic mushrooms 48 hours prior to the flight. Also today, Emerson waived his right to a preventative detention hearing in state court. That means for now, he will stay behind bars. He's scheduled to be back in state court for arraignment next week.
Thank you, Kyle.